Hello, my name is Felipe Ebert, and I'm a postdoc researcher at the Eindhoven University of Technology. I'm going to present my research vision on the doctoral symposium track. So, in my PhD thesis, I conducted an exploratory study to understand how confusion affects the code review process. And by confusion, I mean any situation where a developer does not understand something during the code review. The main contributions of my thesis are a confusion code scheme on how to categorize confusion, a model with 13 reasons for confusion in code reviews, with 14 impacts and 13 coping strategies, and finally, a categorization of the intention of developer questions in code reviews. The research proposal that I envision now is still related to confusion, but it has a bit broader scope. Nowadays, developers use different communication channels during the development process, such as GitHub, bug track systems, issue track systems, code review tools, and in all those channels, developers can discuss about the code, ask questions, provide answers, and also make decisions. Thus, I believe these channels store really important information related to the source code. Here I show you three examples from discussions in code reviews which are explaining the rationale of a specific part of a code change. And this rationale is really important for the understanding of that code change. So the problem that I see in the actual scenario is that important discussions and decisions from those channels are not being propagated in the source code. So my research vision is to make this transient information, and by transient I mean information stored on those communication channels, and make them persistent documentation as source code comments. So, for example, I envision a bot that would recommend and summarize discussions from code reviews and provide the developers suggestions of source code comments. This is the main idea of this research proposal. Thus, the initial research questions that I propose are: which transient information is relevant enough to become persistent documentation? I want to understand which pieces of information are important for documentation. And after that, which is the best approach to automatically identify such information from developer discussions? I plan to use an existing dataset containing comments classified as missing rationale, lack of documentation, and lack of context. Those comments are from code reviews, and I plan to survey the developers who participated in those code reviews and ask them which comments from those discussions they believe that should become persistent documentation. I also plan to use a firehouse research to conduct interview with developers. This method has this name because I would literally sit on a firehouse and wait to a fire to be reported. In our case, a code review submission or an issue submission. And I will try to interview developers right after the task is completed. This is a great method to get fresh feedback from the interviewees. These two approaches will help us to build a dataset of possible relevant information. Then I will use this dataset to explore machine learning techniques in order to automatically identify transient and important discussions which should be summarized and become persistent documentation as source code comments. And finally, I plan to evaluate this bot with developers. And here I conclude my talk. I'm open for questions and feedback. Thank you.